So what we're seeing people doing is ownership of property in Texas is a public record. So they can find records in any Texas county for who owns property. So they can identify a piece of property, usually like Claudia said, maybe it's a vacant lot. And so they know no one is physically located there, and that means that no one's getting notices at that address from the appraisal district or from somewhere like that. And so they see the person's name, they can figure out the gender, maybe try to figure out the age range, and then create a fake ID under that person's name with their photo and do everything remotely. They can list it with a realtor remotely by email, by text. I mean, it's 2024, so a lot of people are doing business by email and by text, and you're never seeing them face to face. Hey, I'm out of state, I own this piece of property, I'd like to list it for sale. And when it comes time to close, they'll ask for a remote closing or a mail out, and they have an ID now, so they can get a deed notarized because the notary doesn't know who they are, and notaries will notarize based on an ID, and unless it's blatantly fake, you wouldn't be aware that that's not a legitimate ID. So they'll sign a deed, ask for the money to be wired to them, and then you don't know who you're dealing with, and you'll never hear from this person again, and the deed gets recorded and the real seller finds out. So of course they're going to say, hey, I didn't really do that, and now the buyer has lost the funds that they've wired to this, fraudster, and the seller has a headache on their hands trying to get that instrument of conveyance, that deed, determined to be void or invalid or removed from the county records or removed as a cloud on their title, and a realtor could possibly lose the commission because that was paid based on a fraudulent transaction, and the title company, if it closed at a title company, is going to try to fight to clear it up as well. So you have victims all the way around: the seller, the buyer, the real estate agent, the title company, and most likely you're not going to be able to find that person who committed the fraud. I mean, if they were really good, then the emails will be untraceable, and yeah, you're not going to be able to locate that person and get any of that money back.
Wow. And what does a victim do at that point?
They call me.
Yeah.
No. I mean, so if you find out immediately, if you do find out immediately and the funds are wired, sometimes you can stop it in the process. There have been instances that we've known about where the funds had not been issued to the fraudulent seller yet, and so you can stop that transfer from going through and recoup those funds. You try to do something immediately. Like if you find out, as soon as you find out, try to do something immediately. So, I mean, a buyer, like Claudia had said earlier, a buyer really needs to file a police report, really needs to take criminal action. And then a seller is going to need to talk to a real estate attorney about removing the cloud on title. So now you have this deed. If it's already been recorded, then you have this deed out there that purports to be from the record owner of the property, selling it to a third party. So you're going to have to try to undo that, and you're going to need to hire an attorney to do that.
Wow. And you mentioned too how just an easy precaution for people could be just looking up their address.
Right. I recommend that people routinely Google their address, do a internet search of property that they own, the address, because anything that's going to be listed is going to hit Zillow, it's going to hit Realtor, it's going to hit some MLS site somewhere. And if you Google it, then you may find, and I've heard of this happening, people Googling property they owned and they found that it was listed for sale and they had not listed it. And so they were able to stop a fraudulent sale from happening before it ever happened and before money was ever exchanged, just by doing an internet search of their property and finding it listed. And I also think that some of the real estate sites like Zillow may allow you to claim a piece of property, and then you'll get notifications if there's pending transactions for that piece of property. So that's something to look into.
Yeah. And Could you be able to look up your property, like on the county,
Yes.
county websites too?
Yes, so if you go to, the Angelina County Appraisal District has a website, I forgot what it was. Yeah. They have a website, I go there all the time, but it's just saved. And so the Angelina County Appraisal District has searchable records for ownership. And so when a deed is recorded at the county clerk's office, eventually the appraisal district is going to get notice of that, and they're going to change the tax records and appraisal district records for ownership of the property. And so you can check that occasionally to see if that's happened. And what's going to happen is, if you don't, you're eventually going to realize, oh wait, I never got a notice of my appraised values, or I never got a notice of what my property taxes are this year. That's because someone may have filed a deed for your property and the appraisal district found it and transferred the appraisal district records to the new owner. So yeah, you can look on the appraisal district about your property, and you should be receiving mail. If you own a piece of property, you should be receiving mail from the appraisal district at least twice a year on every piece of property you own, because they have to send out a notice of appraised values, and then they have to send out a notice of the taxes that they've assessed against your property. So at least twice a year you should be getting that, and if you're not, that's an issue. You need to figure out why you're not getting mail from the appraisal district.
Yeah. It seems.
I was gonna say, you can also search your name, and you can also search your name at texaslandrecords.com, and that will show you any document that's been recorded at the courthouse with your name on